How's it going, Jeff?
Really good. How are you?
Hey, great to see you, man.
You too. I think we're
Happy,
still. Are we on live yet? This is always going to happen. How long it
you
takes to
know,
see to
I'm
be
not
live?
sure. I'm not sure how I can find that
Refreshing.
link now. Anyways, I'll just trust that it's live. I don't need to see myself talking to you on the computer. So
Right. Oh,
we get a special guest on for
we
today,
are
right?
live. We are live. We do. Um, I just put Dale in the waiting room. I hope he's okay. Maybe we should bring him back. That could be scary. I have such control
Yeah.
over our guests today. Yeah.
Yeah, we're hosting Dale Clevenger, who is like
Yeah.
one of my heroes.
Me too. What a coincidence.
I mean, they always say like, don't meet your heroes, but I mean, when I met Dale, it was like larger than life.
Yeah.
Do you remember the
Yeah.
first time you met him?
I do very, very
What was,
clearly. Like, just I was mostly taken by his voice and his white hair. It was fine.
where,
I
where,
shouldn't
where,
even try to do that accent. Sorry.
where were you? Where were
I was
you
in
when you met him?
Chicago. Yeah, I was in
You were?
Chicago. I was there for a
Were you,
lesson. I think it just scared out of my mind. Yeah,
no,
and
you
just wanted
scared? You're like the
to be.
fearless guy, man.
Yes, because I'm always scared. Yep. These are fearless techniques. I'm not saying I'm.
No,
Yeah.
that's crazy, man. Wow. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, obviously I felt the same way the first time I met him. Just so much respect for
Yeah.
his career and what he's done. But like, what do you remember what year it was when you met Dale for the first time?
I think it was 2000. I was going to be doing an audition for the Chicago Symphony.
I mean,
So
you were you'd won principal horn in Vancouver. You'd been playing fourth horn in Vancouver. You'd already been playing in the Canadian brass for a while, like 2 years at that
No,
point,
no, it was before, right before Canadian Brass. I think I was,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
I had been in
Okay.
Montreal and Winnipeg, and then yeah, some 1 year contracts, and then, but then the bank,
Golly.
yeah. So I had done well, but then Dale was there. I have some stories written down, but I'll tell them when he's here, because I'd like to hear his thoughts on them. But
Well, I mean, one of the things about like when having taken lessons with Dale, like I go in there with an agenda, like, hey, this is what I'd love to learn, and like the lesson goes this way, and it goes into a story, and then I learned the lesson that I didn't think I was planning to learn, but it was the lesson that I needed through those stories.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And it's like whenever I listen to him talk, it's just like it's inspirational. Number one, like what he's done, like the career that he's had, the people he's worked with. I mean, he said in that last interview, it'd be easier for me to name the people I haven't worked with than the
right.
people I have.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's get him in here, I think, because I'm also nervous about having him in the waiting room. I didn't warn him that I would do that.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I just wanted to do it for fun, to feel the power over our dear Dale. Ladies and gentlemen,
Oh,
Dale Clevenger. Dale.
Dale, you
Oh,
there?
I think he's probably
There he is.
talking to his
Dale's. Hey, he's on.
Dale.
I called Robert to get some help, but I didn't need it.
See, I knew it. Sorry, Dale. We're gonna put you in a waiting room, Dale. Please don't freak out. Oh, just kidding. I helped you freak out. Ladies and gentlemen, Dale Clevenger in his house, in his home. Thanks for making the time, Dale.
No, I got nothing but time. I'm happy to do it.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's so great to see you, Dale. You're looking great.
Thank you. I wish I could do my hair like you guys, but it won't stand up. If I stick my hand in a socket, maybe it would go like that.
Yeah, I got some gel. We can bring it over.
Oh, well, that
man. Dave and I do have the same hair. Oh, jeez.
I got some gel. Maybe I'll try it.
Okay. Okay.
How's that?
Yeah. There we go. Perfect. All right. Well, Dale, Coop and I were just talking about the first time we met you and how wonderful it is just to be in the wake of your existence and your magical musical mind and what you've done. And we thank you for it on behalf of the musical world and beyond. Thank you. You're a great living legend. So we have you here for an hour, and then at 2:00, the Canadian Brass Trumpets are having a hang. So we'll finish up around then. You can jump on to the next hang. I wanted to just share with our viewers, if anyone is here who hasn't really got an idea of Dale's mild little resume. You played in a group. They were based out of Chicago, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. And what was that little band called?
I forget it. Wait a minute. CS. Oh, I think.
The Chicago Serena Orchestra, the Chicago Symphony. How many years were you in that?
47.
47 years, and then you just left. You just quit. You didn't commit. You didn't take it seriously.
I sort of graduated.
Amazing. Yeah, I got to be in that concert with you, right? When you got the medallion and the Scriabin. Yeah, really amazing. I have something here I want to share with people. It's a part of Margaret Tung's dissertation about you, and it's just a little list of all the recordings you've done with the group. And this is an overview. Can you see this? Can everybody see this?
Yeah.
So she compiled it together. Oh, shoot. I just made it too big. Hold on. I wanted to show you the scope of this. So it's, would you believe, Dale, that it's the amount of recordings from 1966?
Yeah.
That there are 37 recordings. Oh, no, wait. 37 pages of recordings
Oh, my.
that you've done with Chicago Symphony. About 15 recordings per page. And Schulte and all your years there. Anyway, it's just mind-blowing. 37, these are page after page after page of about 600 recordings. Is this right, Dale?
Those are the recordings which were commercial recordings done by some company, either Deutsche Grammophon or RCA or whatever company came in. But there are at least 100 more of recordings that are not commercial that were made from broadcasts. From day one that I got in the orchestra, they were taping everything that we did.
Right.
They were only supposed to tape concerts. Look, occasionally they would do a part of our rehearsal just to be covered in case they needed that, you know.
Well,
I can say that now because it doesn't matter. But there are a whole bunch of recordings which were not on a commercial label. They were on a Chicago label or whatever, which became available during the time that they would do the symphony-thons, you know, raising money.
Right.
Or the CDs would just appear in the record store around the corner. So
and the quality of that orchestra, the way you rehearse, is recording level. David, is it now?
Same.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Yeah, you just caught me. I'm like messing with my video. My video cut off. You're like, isn't that right, David?
Oh,
Yes.
really?
Are you paying attention? Yes, sir. I would hate to be in your class. Seriously. The second I
do that on purpose.
I fall asleep, I'm just like, yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, sir. 3 bags full. 27. March 12th. 18. I don't know.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop screwing around. Dale, how many recordings? You made over 700 recordings.
He just said that, David.
And the reason that Margaret got over 600, but Dick Ohlberg used to document everything that we did. And when he retired, we were at, I don't know, 600 or something like that. Anyway, it's a lot. I don't know of any orchestra that's more than that. Berlin does a whole lot. The London Symphony did a whole lot. But I don't know of any orchestra that has done more. You know, because every conductor that came there wanted to record.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah, there's a section there with Haitink and all the, anyway. Yeah, Concertgebouw is doing a lot as well, I think.
Oh,
anyway, most orchestras are in-house now.
Yeah,
and releasing all of that. I'd like to just, I don't want to monopolize the time here, David, so jump in, please.
Okay.
But I wanted to talk about a few specific things. I made a list. I want to try and get to it all.
Can I back up really quick?
We've run out of time, David. Go ahead.
Where's that list available? That Margaret Tung's dissertation? Because I know a lot of people watching would love to. I mean, myself included. I would love to know where we can hear Mr. Clevenger, and where we can hear the Chicago Symphony. Like a lot of these recordings aren't available right now, but most of them are.
Many of them are on YouTube because somebody has put them there.
Okay.
And there are lots of additional things on YouTube. My friend in Seville, Gustavo, in case he's watching, hi Gus, he has just nearly everything that's been recorded, plus all the Farkas stuff and so forth. He is a treasure trove of information about how to get these things.
I need to talk to Gustavo then. But for me as a student, when I was learning, the repertoire, and also I always dreamed of being in the Chicago Symphony, so I studied the recordings that were available to me of the Chicago Symphony. And honestly, if I would have known that this list was available, it would have been really helpful for me when I was preparing.
This is her dissertation. It was her dissertation document. I can send to you. It's available online, I think, Dale, to apply to be able to see dissertations. Yeah, and maybe we can look into how
we can
allowed it is to share it publicly.
She would be happy to tell you how to get it.
Margaret Tung. Yeah,
not a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you work with Margaret in Marrowstone?
Before that, Margaret studied with Bill Vermeulen in Houston. She came to study with me at Roosevelt, and we started a musical hornistic relationship. And then there was an opportunity for her to work with me at Marrowstone. She came out. She's a fantastic teacher, player, one of the nicest people, students that I know. And so we've had, I guess, at least 10 or 15 year.
Wow. Yeah, and the document is impressive. Matthew Hayslip has just put it online. I hope I said your last name right. I've never had you listening while saying your last name. Matthew, thank you so much. There's a link here to Margaret's dissertation, and thank you, Margaret, for this incredible document. It's all massive collection. I wanted to ask you, Dale, if you remember, I was talking to Chuck Dallenbach about the time you were here visiting, and what you guys talked about. One of the things you talked about was the first time you met Canadian Brass, or one of the first times with them, was when you were rehearsing for a brass ensemble recording. Do you remember that? And he was wondering kind of what was your memory of that event?
Well, for several years we did, the brass section did a concert just before Christmas, was about the time we were about to get on our vacation, Christmas vacation. And there's so many of them, I don't know that I can remember all the details, but on a couple of them, we invited various players to come in and play with us. And I remember one time Joe was a trombone player in New York Philharmonic. Joe Alessi came and played.
But Dale, I think we're talking about that. Those are amazing concerts and an amazing tradition. I was talking about, I think it was in the 80s, 70s or 80s. You were getting ready to play, and it was with Arnold Jacobs. Chuck talks about sitting next to Arnold Jacobs. You were next to Graham Page playing. Do you remember that time, that moment?
I really don't.
Okay.
And it's, it can be brought back to memory, but
Right. That's not actually remembering, Dale. That's being told. It's a little different. Sorry. We're colleagues.
I don't remember it either.
We're going to hear a whole bunch of jokes, no matter what.
I love you, Dale. Okay. Well, this was the album for the Canadian Brass. People who know the history of the albums are chronological is Achilles, so he could say it better. That turned into the Berlin Brass and the Canadian Brass recording. There were some things with, I think, labels that happened, and you had one rehearsal, it was ready to go, but then the label moved over to doing it with the Berlin Philharmonic people. But there were some other stories you shared with Chuck about Schilke as well. Any of those come to mind at all? I remember there's a story for, again, Canadian Brass listeners, where it was Gene Watt's first day on the job, and he had a tray of just newly buffed mouthpieces, and he's walking through Schilke's office, and he trips and drops the whole plate of mouthpieces. I think that was the first time they got to see Schilke's gun. I'm not sure, but
Oh my gosh.
Schilke was a character. He was what we would call a curmudgeon. And he knew so much about so many things and about so many people. And of course, I don't remember how many years he actually played in the Chicago Symphony, but I wouldn't even venture a guess. But
trumpet, right?
yeah, trumpet. But he was a mover and a shaker. And if you wanted something to get done in the music world, you go see Schilke.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. What did he do for you? Mouthpieces and
he brought, after Geyer died, or while in the Geyer's last year, he brought on a workman named Jerome Lechniuk. And that was Steve's teacher. Steve joined Schilke in order to make a living.
Steve Lewis, you're talking about.
Lewis, yeah.
Yes.
And Jerry Lechniuk told me then, just parenthetically, that Steve Lewis has golden fingers.
Hmm.
And Jerry Lechniuk's, his workmanship was spectacular.
He was a Polish immigrant?
Lechniuk, maybe one of the other countries up there.
Eastern European.
Lithuanian, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. But we had Geyer until in his 90s. Geyer was pouring hot lead into lead pipes. And then Jerry was working at the same time. And we didn't know how good Jerry was until Geyer was gone and we had to get our stuff done. And Jerry went to work for Schilke, and Steve went to work for Schilke and Jerry became his teacher. And anything that you wanted done on any instrument, you check with Schilke, you check with Jerry, and it would get done. Mouthpieces were made mostly by Scott Lasky when he was working for Schilke for a long time. And it was all made under the Schilke label. When Scott left Schilke, he started making them under his own label, but the quality of mouthpieces did not change. They were super. But the knowledge of all these people about all the instruments and about the music world and the brass world, and Schilke took me physically to Japan, and we did a whole lot of work in the early 70s with Yamaha Company, when Yamaha was spending $1 million a year on research.
Wow.
And all this Schilke was the kingpin of all this.
Yeah, and that was the same with Canadian Brass as well. With one of his dreams was a full set of gold-plated instruments for the brass quintet, and so they were there in Japan as well in that time. Probably the same time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. What a lineage and heritage.
It all happened in Chicago in Wabash Street, right behind us. Right behind Orchestra Hall.
Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, did you have any interactions? Did you design a mouthpiece with Schilke, Dale?
My mouthpiece story was my teacher, when I got to him at Carnegie Tech.
Didn't we outlaw mouthpiece stories? We need to move on. Thank you, David. No, just kidding. Go for it. No, go for it. I'm just kidding.
I started out on a mouthpiece, and my teacher looked at it and he says, "This is junk." He threw it away. He says, "I'll give you a mouthpiece." So he gave me a Bach 12. Okay, what did I know about Bachs or anything else? Parenthetically, Bauman played all of his whole career on a Bach 7. His whole career, not one of these specialty, So I had a Bach 12 and I got into the orchestra on that, and then I heard this gorgeous sound next to me from Brauch. And I went over to Schilke's and I said, Ren, or to Geyer, I said, "Carl, I got it. What can I do? I got to sound more like Brauch. It's the most beautiful sound I ever heard on the horn."
Yes.
He says, "Let me see your mouthpiece." And he looked at my mouthpiece. He says, "I make you a good one." and he made me a mouthpiece, and I have it. Hey, Blair.
Hi, Dale.
How you doing, Blair?
Hey, Blair.
Hi, David.
Hey, buddy.
Say, please, no mouthpiece stories.
Please no mouthpiece stories.
We gotta hear this. We gotta
Guy,
hear
Almost
this.
done. Almost done.
Guy made me the mouthpiece. I still have it. It's in my studio, and it's it's the original. Scott Lasky took that and made from that Shilke 27. Well, it's not a magic mouthpiece. It's just a very good all-around mouthpiece. It's, blah, blah, blah. And that 27, I didn't make any money off of it. I didn't want to. I didn't care about that. And gradually, the more Scott learned about making mouthpieces, he would make subtle changes and things. And I would generally try them and see. I always came back to my Geyer mouthpiece because it did for me everything that I needed. Maybe there was some other perfect mouthpiece available. I don't know. Farkas used to have 12 mouthpieces on his stand, and he would try each one of them, and ask everybody, does this sound better or better? I never did that. I wasn't interested in that. And, it's interesting. If you have a good mouthpiece, I can usually tell what a mouthpiece will do when I try something. But, and it's just, in the case, it's an evolution. And you work with, I could have played any mouthpiece and made it sound as good as possible. Nearly every good musician can do that.
And as you've said too, there's nothing really new coming, not that
No.
much anymore coming that's new. There's probably new
Very
around
little
the
that
whole
we
time.
say today, teaching about the horn, our mouthpieces, that's really new.
Hey, Dale, you kind of talked about trying equipment and trying gear as part of the job. I remember you said that it's like another part of the job to try equipment and see what works best for you. I remember you saying that in a lesson one time. Does that ring true, or is that something you changed your opinion on?
Nearly every player who's been in a job for a long time gravitates to an instrument and pretty much stays with it. But if this person, if he or she is open-minded, and there are new things that come along, you try them. You see if they work. And sometimes you like them and you say, I'm going to play that all the time. I did that. I told you the story before. The first time I ever heard Bruckner 4, Jack Meredith was playing a brand new horn made in Munich, a B-flat high F horn. And every entrance was perfect. And after the concert, I said, what were you playing on? He said, this is a new horn which we were trying, in Munich and so forth. It was a B-flat, single B-flat with a high F horn, a double horn. Well, that was 1968 or so. By 1969, I owned one. I got it. It made my life so much easier. All this high stuff became so much less effort, less thought. Am I going to miss this note? Blah, blah, blah. And the evolution of horns from the beginning, it's just like the evolution of from the Baroque horn to the natural horn to the classic horn and all the valves, and then the valved horns, square valves, round valves, sidewinder valves. It's just an evolution of the horn. I understand that's what we're going to listen to this afternoon on our
Dale, can I interrupt you?
Yep.
Can I interrupt you?
Not if it's another question about equipment.
How did you work with Steve Lewis to develop the lead pipe? I heard you did, or his horn. I think you did 100 different variations of the lead pipe alone on Steve's horn.
My horn is number 15.
Okay.
Jerry Lexnuk took my Schmidt pipe and measured every centimeter all the way out of the pipe, and he made a mandrel, which he made mouth pipes, and Steve got that mandrel. And that is the Schmidt pipe. We don't know why it's so great, because a lead pipe is a compromise between a B flat and an F horn. You got to have, it's got to work on both horns. And when Steve started making horns in 73 or 4 or 5, something like that, Herseth and I helped him get started. And then, you know, the issue was, what does he use for equipment? And the lead pipe is basically the scale of the horn and some of the response of the horn. The bell is the quality of the sound. And we learned that through my work with Yamaha, where we worked with thicknesses and hand hammered and blah, 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 and so forth. And Steve was soaking in all this information over the 4 years that he studied with Jerry. And gradually you put an instrument together. All the young and older instrument makers today, they've got to come to some kind of conclusion of what kind of lead pipe they put on. Many of the companies, the big companies, their lead pipes, they're not very good.
Yes, and some of them are very good. I'm really sorry, Dale. We're going to run out of time if we talk. I'd love to serve a lot of the other musicians and non-horn players too. If we're getting too detailed on the lead pipes, that's awesome. I want to actually want to pick your brain a little bit more about the musician. That's great, but being able to develop hardware. If I find a, I'm not apologizing. I'm not apologizing. I'm trying to segue away from the conversation.
The development of hardware has been going on for 300 years.
Yeah, and it helps with the musician mindset too, with being able to, the high horn puts those notes further apart, right? Makes it a lot better to, yeah. I wanted to be a nice segue. I think you've heard this before. One of my students came up with Dale Clevenger joke. How many Dale Clevengers does it take to screw in a light bulb?
No, come on.
Yes, it was David Goldklang, who played with New World for a while. And his brother Jordan, who's my magician partner. We work on magic things together. And the joke is this. Are you ready, Dale? Say what?
Horns and not magic.
That's true. Yeah. So Dale, do you know how many Dale Clevengers it takes to screw in a light bulb? 2. 1 to screw in the new light bulb, and 1 to yell at the old light bulb for not sustaining. That genius. David Goldklang.
That's a sustained light, doesn't it?
You gotta sustain. Come on.
That's really good.
For those who don't know, Dale is very known for sustain with your sound.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
It's one of the big things that we do. Is
yeah.
sustain.
So on that note, what I remember and what really struck me, there's a lot of things that struck me when I first met you and had my first lesson with you. And I remember one thing. I tell this story that Schubert 9. And I had already done pretty well in my mind, and I showed up, and I was pretty happy with my soft playing. The opening of Schubert 9, and I played it, and I was like, oh, that went pretty well. Inside, I was like, phew. And then Dale said, that's fine, but could it be softer? And I was like, sure. And I did it softer, and I was really, oh man, I did it. And he was like, could it be softer? And I was like, yeah, outwardly, but inside I'm like, no, of course not. Like, come on, let's see you do it. And then as he's picking up his horn, and then he does it, and it just, my world was forever changed. Like just, oh, like the Chicago, I remember we did like 4, the opening, and we wailed, and it was like, yeah, that was fun. That was amazing. That's Chicago. But the softs, the incredible magical softs, and you've said yourself, Dale, that the Chicago got the glory and the credit for tearing the walls down in the brass section, world famous, but that you didn't get as much credit for your soft playing. I'd love for you to talk about that. And I'm having subbed in there at times. It's mind blowing how soft you guys play.
When you have 24 different conductors, I don't know if it's that, or a dozen different conductors per year, and they are on such a high level artistically and some of them technically, and the ones that you really respect, and they move in such a way, and we're playing a piece which it needs to be so soft and so lovely that you can't imagine that the orchestra can play this soft, 100 people. And yet you desperately want to do what this conductor wants. And they move in such a way to get this soft playing you say to yourself, oh my, I got to work on my soft playing. I got to be able to play softer than this. How do I do it? Well, you spend a lot of time, and you have people around you who are playing as soft or softer than the conductor wants, or that he's asked for, and that inspires you to do better yourself. Constant inspiration for 47 years that I got from my colleagues. Constant.
And now David too here. That's amazing, Dale. And David, you're writing. You're the continuation of that culture and what Dale and everyone there.
I mean, I just get lost listening to Dale, because whenever I hear him talk, it's so inspiring. I just I don't know. For me, whenever I listen to him, I'm just like, wow, this is just you hear about it and you're just like, yeah, and this is also something I'm a part of. But to hear it,
how is it there, David? Now to play in that orchestra what you were taken by the soft playing. What did you? Any stories?
I mean, listen, when you have like woodwind players like Steve Williamson and Will Welter, and you've got Stefan, the flute player, and you've got Keith Bunky, you've got all these winds, and you just listen to what they do. I mean, then it's like, okay, yeah, obviously a clarinet can play softer than I could on any day, but now it's in my imagination, right? And Dale used to always talk about, like, you have to have something in your mind, like with a sound. You have to have a concept of sound in your mind, and you have to always be aiming for that concept that you imagine, and then let the body come away with, the body can figure out the mechanism, like the way to put the lips, the way to put the air, the way to put the tongue, but you have to have the concept first. And I think hearing it from people like Steve or hearing it from Dale, like that's where I learned my concept, is like, okay, this is possible. Now I've got that in my imagination. Now let me try it.
You're reminding me of a magical moment in your David Cooper, your talk with Eric Rusk that Dale was watching, and lots of Dale stories coming from Eric too. But he said, lots of people, lots of techniques. I don't listen to many horn players, and neither do I, actually. I agree with Eric on that. And he says, there's lots of great technicians out there, but he says, forgive me, but something like Nice House, Nobody Home, that came to his mind. But what I took from Dale too was this musical thought dictates technique. And I've been talking with my students quite a bit, even this week, about what is your next level up? Is your next level up in your sound or in your success, getting closer to your goals? Is it going to come from a leap in technical understanding and getting better at the technical things of the horn? Then you can make better music? Or can you dive into making better music now with every note? You'll still notice when you miss a note and fix stuff, but to be telling a better story with every note you play, and that maybe can also, and then we try it, and making more music actually has them end up playing better. The more musical thought actually also helps our technique.
I always jump into, there was Charlie Knighting. He was one of my coaches at Marlboro, and he used to always say, every technical problem has a musical solution.
Nice.
And that's something, I mean, I've learned from Dale, I learned from you, and I've tried it and it works. I don't have to think like, what am I doing here? It's just, think music. Yeah. What do I want to accomplish?
Yeah.
I could give you two quick examples of soft playing in an orchestra in the Chicago Symphony. When Barenboim started and conducted either Bruckner 7 or Bruckner 4, he went like this. And somebody in the back of the string section said, when do we play? And
everybody felt that too, I'm sure.
He's still moving. And he says, whenever you want to.
Oh.
He says, I just don't want to hear you. In other words, play that soft.
Oh, wow.
And it was pure magic. I never heard anything like it. Usually it's down, but you could hear them all sneaking in. He gave them the rhythm later, but the effect was absolute pure magic. I'll never forget that moment. And one of the last times that I was, before I left the orchestra, Muti was asking, of all people, Steve Williamson to play a little bit softer. And Steve can play so soft that you can't hear him.
Yeah.
I heard him because I was close. Muti didn't hear him. But he couldn't stop because he realized that he had done exactly what he asked for. Played incredibly soft. And it's this kind of artistry and this kind of stardom in the very big orchestras, Chicago, all of the big ones, that there are certain people who can do magical things, which inspire the heck out of you. That's why we're in this art world, this business. It's not a business, you know. It's a we call it a business, but the soft playing of a great orchestra is breathtaking.
Yeah, I remember like I was talking.
Schulte one time asked. He heard our concert in Hong Kong. Barenboim was conducting the Schubert Eighth, and I heard Schulte ask Barenboim. He says, "My dear, how do you get the orchestra to play so soft?" And of course that was a discussion which, you know, because Schulte's was used to moving so that you definitely knew exactly what he wanted. But the soft playing, until his later years, the soft playing suffered a little bit. In his later years, especially in the second movements of symphonies and things, Schulte would conduct so softly. He got that, you know. But he was also learning every day, studying and relearning and getting new inspiration. And we knew that as an orchestra, because you're just aware of, wow, this year it's a little bit different. It's better. My gracious. It's
Hey, Dale.
Yeah.
Because we have you here, I have a request. I think it kind of depends on whether you're wearing pants or not. But if you could do a few of your favorite conductors.
I'm wearing pants.
Okay, good. Yeah. Oh, too bad. I mean, yeah. Can you give us your top 5? Oh, he just happened to.
I just happened to have it.
Awesome. I didn't warn him about this, but yay. Okay.
The first big orchestra that I played in was with Steinberg. Well, he was about this tall, very short, a very big nose. And he joked about his nose. He says, "I can't afford to get a cold. My nose is too famous." But he would stand like this. And when he started, ba, it went like that. Ba. If you played down here, he would say, "Don't anticipate." Ba. And he would move like this. And when he really wanted to emphasize something, nobody has seen him, so nobody would really know that. Then the next, early in my career with Chicago, Kubelik came, you know. He was very tall, and he would chew with his jaw before. You didn't play until that clicked. Dee-dum. He would pop his finger down. Schulte was always like this. And Don Juan would be, ooh, pak, ibidi, paparita. Very angular. And because he used to conduct in an opera house, and they had to see him, and he would conduct up high, and people, the chorus way back in the back of all the big opera houses that he conducted, you know. But every conductor gets his own
Barenboim?
His own style. Let me do Giulini first. And when Giulini came out, he would carry the baton like this, you know, and everybody would go, "Oh, wow, Carlo Maria Giulini." And Don Juan was, with Giulini, was not like Schulte, not like that, was like this. And it just grabbed the whole orchestra, and we would have a certain kind of sound which was unique. The intendant of the Berlin Philharmonic on our first big tour says, how do you get Schulte and Giannini on the same tour? The two greatest conductors alive. How do you do that? Barenboim, his style is unique to each piece that he plays. Whatever he does is, as I said before on this Bruckner, he was doing like this. When do we play? And then once they're in, then we saw a rhythm. And Barenboim started studying conducting when he was 9 with Igor Markevich. And I played with him in Japan in 1971. Igor Markevich, fantastic conductor. He had all of this, all of the technical stuff he had, and in his mind, the music was just absolutely wonderful. Who else? I don't remember now, but those are
great.
You worked with Kleiber? You work with Kleiber?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, do you have a Kleiber?
Kleiber and Bernstein, they didn't like to give downbeats. They would do like this. And you realized they know what they want. They know this piece really well. And Kleiber's repertoire was relatively small. But what he did was incredible. We're the only orchestra, Chicago Symphony is the only orchestra that Kleiber came to in America. And he would spend a couple of weeks with us. Brahms' second symphonies and so forth. And
thank you, Dale. That's
wonderful. You're welcome.
awesome.
Thank you.
Amazing. Just got a note from Alain Trudel. Amazing,
Alain.
incredible international trump. Yeah, Alain. Alan, yeah, he says he's taking notes. Well done, Dale. You do them perfectly. He's music director now in Toledo, and Canadian Brass is going to play with the orchestra next year. So sometime
Oh man,
we're going to do some.
you know, I used to work with Alain up in Victoria, BC.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we love you, Alain.
Yeah, really love. And he does
Salula.
Italian Brass Week too, right? He's done Italian Brass Week with Dale.
Yeah. Several years. Several times.
Yeah.
Wow. He's a
Okay, Dale,
fantastic.
we got to pick your mind a little bit more about some things. One of which is, I remember a story when I asked you if you get nervous, and you said, so, well, I'd like you to tell the story. I don't know if you remember when you played Strauss 1 with Schulte.
Oh, well, I played Strauss 1 2 times. The first time I did it was at Ravinia with Jimmy Levine. And then about 10 years later with Schulte downtown.
You said your leg started to shake at some point.
I played the call, got out, did our bows and everything and so forth, and we agreed we could start and so forth. And he gives the chord, and then I play bum ba-ding, bum, boom. And as I'm sitting there waiting for the orchestra to play the introduction, my knees started shaking. And I said to myself, what is this? Is this what I've trained myself and wanted to do all my life? And I'm standing out here on the stage and my knees are shaking?
Am I just cold?
Yeah, it's what's going on here? And I quickly asked myself, why am I here? And the answer was and still is, I have something to say. Now, say it, damn it. And they were quivering a little bit. We finished and I started playing and my knees stopped shaking and I played. I didn't play perfect. Nobody plays perfect. I still missed some notes, but it was effective enough that the audience liked it. It was also 95 degrees that day. So sweat was coming down hard to keep the mouth on your face when that happens. When I did it downtown with Schulte, backstage, Schulte was trying to be nice to me. And he says, and this is, I've been in the orchestra at that point, probably 15 to 20 years. He says, my dear Clevenger, your performance today, your career will have no effect one way or the other because of your performance today. Go out and have fun. Enjoy yourself. Schulte actually said that to me.
Wow.
And I said, okay, maestro. And I did not have the legs weren't shaking by then. I don't know why, but they weren't. And I went out and I did exactly the same thing as I said to myself to do the first time I played it. I have something to say musically. Some people will like it, some people may not like it. That's not the point. It's in my head, it's in my heart, and it's my passion, it's my dream. Do it.
And you can find out later what people thought if you want. But in the act of performing, that's where you start yelling instead of asking. It's been compelling to me. I have that on my little sheet I read backstage. It says I have something to say, Dale Clevenger. I want to dive into your humanity a little bit more and have you talk about some other personal things. One of which might be about being a parent. And what were some of the hardest things about being a parent and a busy musician? Some of the best things. How did you balance all that? What would you recommend for parents today?
That is the difficulty of
Yeah.
a household of musicians, where the work demands a lot of your time, demands that you be away, or that you practice a lot, or that you be gone on tour away. And, you know, I wasn't away 2 or 3 weeks out of a month, but I was away 3 weeks in the fall and 3 weeks in the spring and so forth. But giving all you can to your children, if you like children, if you have them, and being the best possible parent possible is quite an effort. If the demands of your time are downtown. And you know, I remember one time one of my kids, I don't remember which one it was sitting in my lap, you know, facing that way, you know, and he leaned forward like that and he boom, he went back and hit me in the face.
Oh man.
And I had to play. You know, I had to play a concert that night. I thought, oh boy, what if I can't play? But things like that can happen, and you have to be careful about it. I mean, they can, you're lying down with them and they can step on your face or do something, but they are your children. They are your progeny, you know, they are you, and you just do the best that you can. There's no magic formula. Jeff and Nina are absolutely wonderful parents. I tried to be as good a parent as possible. I had
Ideal. For someone that doesn't have kids, would you recommend it as, like, you know, with the demands of the job, or would you? I mean, because obviously everyone says kids are the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. I don't have kids yet because I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm like, you know, I have to practice and, you know, I have to get ready for this concert. How would you recommend? Like, do the challenges outweigh the benefits, or?
Absolutely. No. The benefits outweigh the challenge.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. Sorry.
The pros outweigh the cons by far.
Mm.
What have you been doing every day on FaceTime these days, Dale? Who you've been watching grow up? Yeah.
My daughter calls me on FaceTime, and I see my granddaughter just for a few minutes, and I talk to her, and she calls me Grandy. Not Papa or not Granddaddy or Grandpa or whatever. These are terms that I used growing up, but I'm Grandy.
Brandy? You're drinking brandy while talking to you?
Grandy.
Oh, okay.
Like grandpa. But I see her every day. And it is a momentary inspiration that can help make my day.
Yeah.
It's just undescribable. It's more undescribable than playing a Mahler symphony.
Wow.
More. A different kind, but more indescribable. To watch your kids grow and to help make the world better by being a great parent to kids. I had a doctor in New York his name was Goodbody, Dr. Goodbody. And he had 9 children. And I said, it was probably inappropriate to ask him. I said, Dr. Goodbody, essentially, how do you justify having 9 children in this world today? He says, some people cannot justify it. He says, I can, because the way I live, the kind of attention I can give to my kids, I can make 9 children, or try to help make them make a better world. To make society better by the way I raise my children.
Woo.
For Dale, can I interject real quick? That leads me into a really good segue. Like, how do you now like do that with your students? How do you do that just, you know, in interactions with every person you come in contact with? As someone without kids, I feel like I could do that with my students or through the community as well.
I just try to be the kind of person and the kind of example that they realize that, one, I'm a human being. I make mistakes. I say things that I probably shouldn't. And I get emphatic or whatever. But hopefully all my students know that their welfare as human beings first, not as musicians, as human beings first, and then as musicians, and then as horn players, is the most important thing. And no matter what they do, whether they play on a high level in a major orchestra, or whether they teach in a band, in a small town or in a big city, whatever, they can help pass on the fact that being a good human being is the best thing that we could possibly do in this world. We have a whole bunch of politicians who are not good human beings. They are liars. They're people who value money much more than they value being a wonderful, honest, good human being. And if you can combine a profession, and we have one of the best professions in the world, artistic performance, public performance of music, which gives us pleasure, gives the world pleasure, and will keep on giving pleasure. I had a chat with John Williams last week. I just called him up and said, John, I just wanted to see how you were. Are you knuckling down? Are you staying healthy? Blah, 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 and so forth. And I said, John, I got to tell you, I think of you as a modern day Mozart. We will never forget all of Mozart's melodies, and many of the melodies that you're writing are eternal. They're always going to be with us. You have given joy to so many people. I don't know if you have any idea of how many people. I said, when you conducted our orchestra and you wrote a concerto for me, and you wrote a chamber music in memory of my deceased wife, and the giving of yourself, plus what you do, what you write in terms of music to make this world better, it's just undescribable. And I said, I have to tell you that.
Beautiful. Whew.
Wow.
Thanks for telling him that, because we all feel that for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. We just got a message from one of your students, Dale, Mark Constantine. He writes, "We know that and love you for it, Mr. Clevenger." And then in big letters, like we know you say, "No intrigue." Yeah, me and Jenny Smoke says hi as well. Jenny Smoke.
Oh, hi, Jenny. This no intrigue means just that, but you've got to, one of the biggest disappointments of me when I find out a student is not a nice person after they left me. They haven't been nice. That is one of the biggest disappointments, that they turn out to be not.
I just try to not find out. I just don't keep in
That's a
contact
great
with them.
idea.
I don't have to.
You can find out, not find out.
Yeah.
But
Jenny.
if my teaching and my being and my person and my music and my horn playing makes other people, gives them joy, makes them want to do the same or teach people the same, and the world can be a little bit better, what else can I ask?
Dale, I remember Dale used to talk about people would stay after work downtown and wait, until 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. when the concert was, and they'd give up their evening to spend it with you. And that's a testament to how important the classical music was to them in their lives.
Yep, it's true.
Yeah. Wow.
That's done all over the world. I mean,
Right.
there are people who work and then they have an opportunity to go to an opera or they go to a symphony concert.
That's one of the great things about them starting sooner too. We've been really moving our Canadian brass concerts to 7 p.m. So you got a little bit less time to eat, not much waiting around. We only have a few more, about 1 minute left, Dale. And I think your beautiful sentiment about who you are basically comes out your instrument, but it can't without being looked at first and made into a beautiful person. And then you share that on stage. Sorry, I just saw Luis Garza says hello as well. So I wanted to have you close with just saying something you would say. Like you already said it many times and every day out your bell, but what would you tell the young musicians of today when they're working on their chamber music and their music teaching and all the different ways of just kind of actually training for excellence? Really, what would you tell them would be a recommendation from your heart?
Go after your dream. Try to get it. Even the process of trying to get it, whether you actually reach it or not, the process is wonderful. And the process can be even as enjoyable as getting your dream. And give of yourself in every possible way that you can, your time, your joy, your enthusiasm, your experience, your inspiration to young people, and the world will be a better place. This is what all of us in the performing arts, that's what we do. It's evident in what's happening today. But go after your dream and play pretty, no matter where you play. It's pretty simple.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you, Dale.
It's great to see you.
I
Wow.
love you.
Incredible words of wisdom from Dale.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice to see you.
Yeah. Thanks, Dale. Thank you very much.
We'll see you. Yeah, we'll see you
Wish
soon.
we had another 5 hours to.
I know.
We'll do
always.
this again.
We'll do it.
Right. Yeah.
We'll do it. Okay.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Jeff, thank you for your questions and your humor.
Yeah.
and,
You too. You too.
Yeah, really great. This is really fantastic doing this with you. And
I was just kidding about Dale. I don't think we can have him on again with all these. Wait, is he still here?
This gathering here. Are we off now?
No, we got to go.
This gathering here.
We're still on, by the way. Watch your language.
What you're doing, David, is for me. It's an emotional high in my musical life. What's going on right here? Really, bravo.
I love you, Dale. Thank you. Thank you for being you and for your inspiration. I can't wait to see you again and get more of these hangouts. And, I'm so glad everyone gets to see you and gets to talk to you and hear your stories and your inspiration right now. It really means a lot to me, and it uplifts me every time I hear your words. And I know it does for all the young people, all the young musicians out there. Such good service. So thank you again. And Jeff,
I thought we were going to get off there without Dale crying. Whew, that was close. Yay. Okay, we got to sign off. Thank you, Dale.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really terrific. All that's going on, all these groups of musicians around the world who are playing. And the actor, what's his name? The head of
Need a bit more information.
Star Wars. The guy who's reading a sonnet every day.
Oh, wow. I don't know.
Bald-headed is on not Star Wars.
Yeah. Patrick
Stewart.
Patrick Stewart. Yeah. Oh, awesome.
A sonnet every day. There are 300 sonnets, or however many.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's fantastic.
Well, what's going to happen next is we have Canadian Brass Trumpets are coming on right away. So don't leave. We got another online hang right now, live.
I stay here. I'll be off camera. I can just walk.